to P. Chrysler. He started out as a mechanic on railroad trains, steam engines, and then I think he was well into his 30s or 40s, and I think Billy Durand hired him to reorganize. I don't get it wrong, but it was one car maker. They wouldn't pay him enough, so he says, "I'm going to make my own car." And of course, without Walter P. Chrysler, he wouldn't have bought the Dodge brothers. Well, he bought them up after they passed and their widow. So the whole history of the auto industry is really fascinating, including Volkswagen. We have Mr. John here who will be on the block tomorrow. He's a huge Volkswagen dealer, but the history of Volkswagen also. After World War II, the Volkswagen factory was offered to the British and the Americans saying, "Hey, we don't want that thing." They passed on Volkswagen. So it's
the largest manufacturer of cars in the world.
Yeah, legendary stuff. And split window Beetles. I mean, even Volkswagen Rabbits. The one thing I love that we're finding is, I say the collector car world is like a conveyor belt that never stops. It's a spotlight that shines down. Eventually, everything finds its way under that spotlight. Fox Mustangs, IROC Zs, things that I grew up with, and I'll never be worth anything. Well, they are. And Volkswagen Cabriolets, Rabbits, clean ones, original ones. I mean, you don't see them that often, but people often want a second chance at the things they had when they were a kid or wanted, and they'll pay for them and buy them as adults.
Don't forget the vans, the buses.
Yeah, vans.
And more importantly, the Thing.
Yes, the Koopa wagon, reborn as it were. Right, the Thing, an amazing vehicle. The doors interchangeable, I believe, from side to side, and a great example of just simple engineering but effective engineering.
I'm Spanky. Come on up if you would like to talk about would you like to?
Oh. Yes,
Yeah. So this is Amanda, Peggy Sue's daughter. That's okay. You can stay. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Oh, we're wonderful. We're so sorry that hear about the loss of your mother, but you're going to be here.
Yes.
You have her car.
Yes.
The 1958 Impala.
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah, and so Peggy Sue was so iconic to the rock and roll. The song was such a big hit, and your mother was such a big part of that. And just so I get the story straight, to make sure,
Okay.
your mother and Jerry, who she married,
Yes.
who was the drummer for the Crickets,
Yes.
who the Crickets were Buddy Holly's band.
Yes.
So Buddy and Jerry and your mom all graduated from Lubbock High School together. Is that right?
No, I believe J.I. and Buddy Holly were actually a bit older than my mother.
Okay, so they went to high school together, but they didn't graduate together.
Correct.
Well,
Well, I think so, yes. I mean, I was born in '68, so I know bits and pieces of the history and, of course, of the song and how it came about and all of that. But yes, that's from being in Lubbock, and Lubbock back then wasn't what it is today. It's grown to.
So Lubbock, I grew up about 30 miles from Lubbock.
Yes.
And back in those days, in the 60s, we thought it was a big town, but it wasn't a big town. we were just under the misconception
That it was a big town.
that it was a big town.
And where are you from?
Florida,
Florida. Okay.
pumpkin capital USA,
Well, my mother was born in Olton.
Olton, Texas.
Yes.
Right. So your mother married J.I., but Jerry Allison, who was the drummer. And, of course, I assume that she went on the road with Buddy Holly and the Crickets from time to time because they were married and did all the stuff. I know I've got pictures. You have pictures.
Yes.
You wanna
Pictures
talk?
that I have found and pieced together with me and Mr. Mark Spanks. Part of that history, and then also from her memoirs, which I also have up front if anybody's interested in those. Part of that part of her life. So it's been interesting to read and find out information, and I'm still looking for more information and more research on that period of time and that time of her life. So.
But you are offering for auction some of her items that you've inherited from your mother. We have photos of her with Jerry and Buddy, and
Yes.
and that we have a guitar.
Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit about the guitar?
Well, I found the guitar, and I had heard that Buddy Holly's brother, Travis, had made it for her, and And I thought, well, okay, cool. And it has, you know, the little ivory thing there. And it wasn't until after I was talking with Dwayne that I actually went and looked at the guitar and found out it was actually made by Travis Holly for her. It's numbered. And I was like, oh, and it's stamped and everything. And so that's when I went ahead and said, you know what, let's share that too.
So we are very kind as a population to thank you so much and your family for sharing this with all of us, not just us. And you have the opportunity to come and buy some wonderful, wonderful memorabilia from Peggy Sue. Has all to do with her time with Jerry Allison and Buddy Holly and the entire cricket. She was married into that. And we just lost Jerry here a few months ago. He passed away.
I had heard that about a couple of days later.
Yeah.
And I knew he had been sick. But I didn't know anything else. In fact, I had actually reached out to see if he could tell me a little bit more about the picture, the painting that we have over there.
Oh, that's right. You have a full-length painting of your mother. That's
yes. And he was, at that time, he was sick and couldn't take any
calls.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. If you're a Buddy Holly fan, a rock and roll fan, a Peggy Sue fan, come be with us tomorrow. We got lots of that history and that automobilia and memorabilia, and not only that, but her car that we're going to auction off, and it's going to be big fun. Amanda's here. She has some books that her mother has written about her memoirs.
Yes.
That you'll have available tomorrow, and if you have questions about that time period, as far as you know, the stories your mother told. So
yes,
whatever your
yes.
mother told you, that we'd be glad to share those stories. It'd be fun.
That would be great.
Thank you, Amanda.
Autograph books?
Autographed books. So there's a few autographed by Peggy Sue, right?
There are a few that are autographed not only by Peggy Sue, but by the lady that helped her write it.
Her write the book?
Mm-hmm. And but most of them are not signed. But as the administrator of the state, I'd be more than happy to sign it for her.
So you could write Peggy Sue by administrator of state Amanda.
Well, I put Amanda, Peggy Sue's daughter, in a day.
Oh, that's even better. That's exactly right.
And tomorrow is the anniversary of her death. She died at 11/11 on October 1st, 2002.
Oh, wow.
So,
Well, what a great memoir. Thanks for telling us that.
yes.
That's a
yeah.
coincidence. So it's
It's been 4 years.
4 years.
Mhm.
4 years. Beautiful lady. Wonderful. I never met your mother, but I've seen pictures of her since. Gorgeous, beautiful lady, and
Thank
of course,
you.
what a great period in our history with the car hops and the rock and roll, and you read stories because Buddy Holly's. I'm a big fan of Buddy Holly's because he grew up right there in Lubbock, and not only that, in Mason City, Iowa, where he did his last concert.
Correct.
That's where the auction school I went to is.
Oh, wow.
So we got to visit where the plane crash was years ago, and so Buddy Holly's. I'm a big fan of Buddy Holly. Therefore, I'm a big fan of your mother
Thank you.
and Jerry Allison, who was her husband at the time.
Yes.
Thank you. God bless you.
You too.
Sorry for your loss. Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate it. That's
And-
great.
And let's talk that car itself. That's a Chevy Impala. We've got to remember, of course, the Chevy Impala, one of the most popular names in the country. Well, that's the first time it ever happened, 1958. Of course, Impala later become wagons and convertibles and four-door sedans, but 1958, Impala was strictly a two-door sport coupe with a specific greenhouse, a shorter roof than a Bel Air or the lesser Chevy. So the Impala really was a GM Motorama show car come to life, and that is a very beautifully restored example with Peggy Sue history. It's really a piece of history right there.
Would you mind going to get me one of those cars? What? We're going to have a race here in a little bit. We have valve cover races. Have you ever been to a valve cover race?
I never have. When I was a kid, I did the Pinewood Derby. This is a little different, though, a little better, a little cooler.
Thank you. So, John, this is John Luciano, who is going to be one of our announcers tomorrow. Here, you can use mine. You can talk. So,
Isn't it LB up here? This is LB.
so this is the. So we're going to have a valve cover race. So there's a number of cars. I don't know how many there are So about here in just about an hour or so, 4:30, we're going to have a little valve cover race. It's just going to be fun.
It is fun.
So
It's fun to watch.
John is a friend of mine and was telling him about this valve cover race. I said, have you ever been to a valve cover race? He said, no. I said, so apparently you don't have a valve cover car. He says, no. I said, well, we're going to have a race. And you know the next thing? John has a valve cover car.
So we just decided to build one real quick. We jumped on the internet, as Steve would say, we Googled, right? If you guys don't know, what are the 2 most used words in the English language? Does anybody know? It is now Google it. 2 most used words is out there now. Google it. Everybody. If you don't know, just like it's been said just sitting here in the last 20 minutes, how many times has somebody said Google, 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 Google? It's just gone on.
And
so
if
we
you
did
don't-
the same thing. We
If
Googled.
you don't believe that fact, just
Google
it.
Well, so we saw pictures. You can see all kinds of different ones. They mount them with skateboards and roller skates and all kinds of stuff. So we bought us a pink set of roller blades and took some wheels apart and built a chassis and just tried to come up with an idea and have some fun. And then you can see it's got our logos on it. And we'll let Steve look at our sponsors are there.
Yeah,
Who's on the back?
Bennett Automotive Specialties, Gary and Muffy.
Look above it.
SteveMags.com. Well, there's that too. Okay.
Gotta have
Okay.
SteveMags.com. So
I'm blind to my own,
yeah. So we took all the partners. You can see the gavel up on top, and it is the LB Auction Express. So we kind of.
I think it's important to say we've got a Star Wars head here, but he was looking for a Spanky Assiter bobblehead.
If anyone has one, I would buy it from you because that's what I tried to find or figure out.
Oh!
You have one?
Absolutely.
Oh, I would have. Amy, I should have called and asked you because I would have stolen it. And the next one we'll have Amy this is Amy at the wheel. We'll have Spanky at the wheel. The next one, without a doubt.
You know,
So there's 3 classes. If you don't know, there is 7 pounds or below, 7.1 to 15, and then 15 and above. The 15 and above, I think, is going to knock down the end of the strip, right? I think that's going to be a lot of weight. This weighed about 3.5 pounds when it first finished. And if you look on the bottom, you can see we took some weights and added them, just their car weights, like you put on your mag wheels. So we tried to give her a little bit of weight and see what she'll do. But a lot of fun. That's at 4:30, right over here where the track is. So please come join us. We're going to have some fun.
And these are scienced out. I mean, it used to be that valve cover races use skateboard wheels or even like roller skate wheels, but now the trick is rollerblade wheels. The point being the minimal surface area and rolling resistance is minimized because the contact patch is about the size of a flea, whereas a skateboard wheel, it's a lot wider. So trick builders know to use these wheels right here. So you guys know what you're doing.
So I am a little concerned. It's got my name here and this company and this company. So I've got 2 sponsorships on it. And this is what I know. When he decided to build this, he bought a brand new set of rollerblades and tore them apart for the wheels.
Well, you know.
I thought you got an old roller, you remember one of those metal skateboards or something? Oh, no, we got to be scientific and get the real deal. So how long did it take you to build this?
Well, kind of 3 nights.
And where in the world do you find a gold valve cover?
That is gold anodized, and that was on a car that I raced back in the 70s, is what that comes from. And we were gold anodizing everything. Gary knows well what I'm talking about. And so you did your fender skirts and your brackets and stuff and thought it was cool. That you really could kind of get any color back then in these anodizing, and they dipped it in the acid. Steve could definitely tell us the process better. And just like Gary and like Steve, we just have collections of crap. Sorry for the word, in our garages and in our sheds. Spanky, you've seen it.
Nothing goes to waste.
Yeah, exactly. Every summer, we're going to clean that out. I'm going to get rid of some of it, and we don't. I mean, I've moved it from Tennessee to El Paso to now Amarillo. But you never know when you're going to need it. I get a call, hey, we ought to build one of those, and that's why we have it. And guess what? We built it.
So here's what I'm more amazed about. I have been where you have all that stuff stored. I'm surprised you could find it.
Oh, I know where everything is in there. So do you, right, Steve?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
We know where it is. We know where it is. How many times have you called me at the office asking where something is? And did I tell you where it was?
Yes.
I did tell you where it was. That's right.
So if you're interested in valve cover races, this will not be our only one. So build your car. I know you don't have time to get one built in the next hour, but build your car. There's no fee to come and race your car. It's all for fun. It's just big, clean fun because we're car guys.
Zero emissions.
And
right?
we want to see something race.
That's it. That's exactly true. Something go down a track, somebody scream.
Somebody scream, and these cars are just worth too much to race anymore.
No, yeah, not these. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
No,
This
so
is fun.
this is fun.
We'll give it back to the guys. Thank you. Come watch us in about 45 minutes.
45
Yeah,
minutes.
we'll be ready.
No charge. You can build a car. Next time, build a car. We're going to be back. We're excited about this venue, right?
Yeah, great location, and I like how it's indoors. You know, at some auctions, you're kind of outdoors and indoors. I mean, hopefully this grows to a point where you have to be outdoors, and it probably will happen. But in the meantime, being indoors is nice. You know,
And not only, oh, look at this.
You just thought I was gone. But there's nothing I love more than trying to quiz Steve, because I just want you guys to know, in the years that I've known him and we spent a lot of time together on the Mopar deal, I tried very hard to stump him. Not going to happen. I'm just going to tell you. So I'm going to let you, what do you think this valve cover goes to most likely? Chevy
Six-banger, a Blue Flame 6, probably, maybe. I mean,
help
well,
you?
you know, here's the thing. It would be a pre-1954 Chevy, because they went to a perimeter bolt, or it might be, it's an inline 6 of some type for sure, but that's my guess. Tell me more.
I'm just hoping, look at the size of this thing. I'm hoping we don't have to race this one.
Oh,
The reason I say that is because the salvations in the details, as we like to say. Perimeter valve cover bolts came out in 1954. Prior to that, Chevy inline 6s, the bolts holding the valve cover down were in the center, which didn't clamp the gasket quite as well, so it leaked oil. So Chevrolet went to a perimeter bolt pattern and got away from the bolts in the middle. How do we know these things? But I would say it's a Chevy Stoll bolt 6.
that's a
love to
good
know.
question.
That's the question.
How do you know these things? And more importantly, why would you know and remember?
Well, Corvettes, 53 and 54 Corvettes, they have 6-cylinder engines. But if you have a 53 Corvette, you want to see the center bolt valve cover, 54 Corvette perimeter bolt valve cover. It's a big deal if you have a Corvette fetish like I do.
Huh?
Yes,
We got
there
a
is.
54.
Yes.
So that's the second year of the Corvette. Selling. We got a 54 Corvette. So you got to go lift the hood. Oh, what do you got
yeah,
now?
old school.
Oh, look at this.
I just want you to know, I went over and confirmed it is from a 48 Chevrolet Blue Flame. You were on it.
Okay.
You were all over. So now tell us about this one. Any
Well,
thoughts?
this, a cast aluminum small block Chevy.
Weighs a ton. This is
Yeah.
Feel this. This is a 15-pounder. Oh wow.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, this one has an interesting choice of wheels. These are skateboard wheels, but they have been either ground for, this one in the front has been ground for just a small contact, so it's been sort of coned. The rear ones are wider. These may be a handicap, but then again, 15 pounds, it's going to roll over anything.
You should have been a machinist like one time in your life.
It would have been good. I kind of was. I was an apprentice. I can't claim to be anything more than a good order taker as a machinist, but
I loved how you cut out for the wheel wells and everything. Just what a great one. Just
it is cool.
Isn't that great?
got the zoomies right.
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
headers to it.
Zoomies and Hillborn injection right there. Of course, the driver with always the driver with the big head. Of course,
Yeah.
It's got to be John Forrest.
That's right, John Forrest.
Gotta be John Forrest.
Right. Yeah. Drivers see the mechanics as the vehicle is just this thing they drive, whereas the mechanics see the driver as a thing that drives their car. So it's always that battle of wills, if you will. But anyway, it takes a team to do anything.
You know what we need to do next time with this deal is to get a chat room where they can text us for questions.
Yeah, real-time
So
question.
if you have questions, send them. We'll try to. Oh, look at you go.
Beautiful.
Feel this one. That's 17 pounds of pure steel, baby. Look at that.
Yeah, razor wheels on that, high-speed bearings. That's a cast aluminum small block Chevy valve cover with the breather, no less. Very cool.
And he's right about all of what he just said. I confirmed it before. But look at the skateboard on the bottom. Isn't that cool?
It's been milled down to fit inside. That's cool.
Absolutely. Somebody, a lot of time. I think we know who built this.
I think,
He's
yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
Craig, I think.
Craig did it.
That's too cool. So if you have questions that you'd like to ask Steve, and that we don't have it set up tonight, but tomorrow during the auction, log on to our auction and text us, and we'll
Real
try
time,
to
we
get
can-
you.
yeah, we
We'll
can
try to
chat
get
real
you an
time.
answer. Gary, would you like to come up and talk to us and say something?
All right, we've had a couple of questions come in.
Okay.
This one's for Steve. Steve, in all the years of doing what you're doing, favorite car?
Wow. I mean, that's tough. I do have an interest in Hemi-powered Mopars. And I got to say, at Barrett Jackson, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, there was a 66 Belvedere 4-door street Hemi 4-speed car. It was a 4-door street Hemi. And in 66, when Chrysler was trying to homologate the street Hemi, so NASCAR would say, we can let you race those things, they put them in anything except for wagons. And this four-door went for $660,000, which was the same price that the Duesenberg sold for at the same auction. That's when we knew that factory muscle cars from America are just as cool as the classics and just as important. So that was my favorite, I think.
They are, you know, and one of the things that is amazing, we've been together a long time as well, and Spanky, guys, these cars are our lives, and it sounds crazy, but our world really evolves around everything in this room and each other. We rely on each other for a lot of things, a lot of help, the network, the friendships. I've thought about this many times. Muffy and I reflect about our meeting and our relationships and with people, and cars are our world. And the people in the car world are wonderful people, aren't they, Steve?
It brings out the best in people.
It does, and it's a wonderful thing to have in common. Now here we got a new car dealer, and he's all about cars, and he gets it, and he's the same way. And I will tell you this, I wouldn't know anyone in this room if it weren't for my involvement in collector cars. Yeah. And I think that is so important, and I'm so proud of that, because they're real friends.
So we have another question. This one's for you.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. They would like to know what conditioner you use to make your hair so awesome.
Oh, this is an easy answer. Whatever the hotel has.
I love it. Perfect.
Yeah, I am, and thank you for the question.
How many years have you been doing this?
I have been in the, my first auction was 1971, going to Barrett-Jackson for the first auction they had. And I went to every Barrett-Jackson they had for that entire time.
Where was it?
It was actually, it was at a resort. It wasn't at the Biltmore, but it was at a resort, and it was a small charity fundraiser, and they had, I don't know, half a dozen cars. It was not a big deal. But I was taken there by a fellow named Jimmy Lake, who was the largest Rolls-Royce collector in the world at the time, out of Muskogee, Oklahoma. I was raised in Tulsa, which is not very far from Muskogee, and Jimmy realized I had a passion for cars and asked me to go to that event with him and look at these cars. And back then, the cars that everybody was lusting over were the pre-war classics.
E16 Cadillacs, Duesenbergs.
Absolutely, all those big heavies, the Packards, and there were some amazing cars back then. And I've evolved, went through that all those years in cars, and I didn't have any money. I had to sell the car. I had to buy the next car, one of those things. We all did, didn't we, Steve? I mean, that's just what you did. Yeah, you were there, John. And then, you know, the next thing I know, one day I get a phone call, and they asked me to come help them at Barrett-Jackson. And I took something that I loved and turned it into work. Wow. But you know what was cool about that? It never became work. I love it. And agreed. I met Steve through that. I met Spanky through that. I met you through this. I mean, guys, it's the way the world works, and it does work in strange ways. But I have been blessed. I wouldn't have known Muffy if I hadn't decided to take the job at Barrett-Jackson. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me. So I owe that to this, too.
We think she is, too.
Thank you.
Hell with that job.
Okay, with that, I think I'm about to cry. I ought to stop.
That's okay. Last question.
Yeah.
Your favorite car?
You know, John, I bet I've been asked that 1,000,000 times,
right,
and I don't have one. I can truly tell you, I could go through here and fall in love with anything in this building, because everyone's different, they're unique, there's things that make them so special for whatever that era is or whatever that brand is or that make. Stephen, I bet you're the same way.
Yeah, I mean, every car has a story. Every car has a story. You know, they don't speak, so we have to try to do our best to speak for them. But if you look enough, you'll see a lot of cool stuff.
And I've stood on, go ahead.
Willie Nelson and Julio Iglesias had a song like that about all the girls they loved before.
They did.
You guys and all the cars I loved before.
I never will forget standing on the auction block, and one day, I don't know what the car was at the time, but I said something that's been profound to me ever since. I would give anything if these cars could talk and tell their stories. Because the babies, taking wives to hospitals to have babies, trying to save somebody's life, first date, first girlfriend, first erotic experience, whatever that might have been. I'm serious. I mean, every one of these cars and trucks has got a story.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you got to remember too, every single one of these vehicles was on an assembly line with hundreds of other ones like it with laborers putting them together.
Started
Off,
with one bolt.
one bolt, yeah, stampings, and then they went out into a lot, were shipped to dealerships all over the country. We're in a dealership, somebody walked in, I'll take it, and they brought it home, they're so proud of it. Every car, every single one of them.
And it was so special when that happened. And to think about how many of these cars were made at the same time, and here we are with just a few of them here.
Right.
And then there's more of them around, thank goodness, because people are resurrecting them, bringing them back to life, and seeing the value, whether it's sentimental or dollar, whatever the case may be.
America's love affair with the automobile, it'll never end.
It will never end.
For good reason, because it gives us our mobility, our freedom, and opens the door to everything we can
That's
do.
right. And
We'll never be all electric.
that's right, we never will be.
Keep saying it. Even the three of us will keep it
That-
from being all.
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, but it stops here anyway.
That being said, what's really important about what's going on this tomorrow and this weekend here is that we get younger people to come, because we need to introduce our passion and the interest in these cars to younger generations, because they're our future in more ways than one, and they'll keep internal combustion engines alive if we can keep them introduced to this and let them see the significance of what they represent. So,
Well, I guess we'll touch it down and,
Close us out.
yeah.
thanks you guys. Thanks for listening to us and having us, and you're wonderful. Love you all.
30 minutes to the races.
Okay, 30 minutes until the valve cover races, and of course tomorrow morning we begin the car show at I believe 9:30, and the auction will begin selling cars around 11 or so. Tell us more.
That's right. We're going to start selling memorabilia at 9:30. The car show is going to start, I think, at 8 o'clock out there, and we're going to start selling cars as soon as the automobile is done. And we're going to have the greatest day we've had in a long time, and especially when all of us friends are together. It's wonderful. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Tell them 30 minutes.